Live from the BoD studio, it is Playin and Slayin, episode number 89. By popular request, I have been asked to start matching episode numbers to jersey numbers of famous Dallas Cowboys. And they say that the best Cowboy to have ever worn number 89 was tight end Billy Joe Dupree,
Oh,
played in the 70s into the early 80s. So, Ben, that one's for you. But on this episode, other than Cowboys that wore number 89, we are going to talk about Adepticon. So, Troy and I are here tonight, getting close. I think we're about a week out from when we will likely be packing our bags to travel downtown Milwaukee, a short hop, skip, and a jump away to set up for our vacation of running events and playing games and hanging out with dear friends from near and far. So we are going to go through the usual what we've been up to and then talk a little bit about an Adepticon preview. Definitely want to recommend everyone check out our 3-part downtown Milwaukee guide that we did as a lead up to Adepticon. Hank and the Adepticon Facebook page graciously linked to it a few times. It's out on YouTube. So have seen some questions, comments. We're grateful for people checking it out. It's actually had some decent little traffic for the
it was good. And again,
so.
Hopefully people find it useful. In part ways, we're so happy Adepticon came here to Milwaukee. We were trying to show our love and make sure all our visitors from out of town can find their way, because there's some really cool things in downtown Milwaukee that maybe aren't on all the touristy things, and at least you get a little bit of our opinion. So again, your mileage may vary, but we shared a lot of our favorite things down there. So
absolutely. And Troy, I would be remiss if I didn't, even though it's just the two of us, talk about what we're drinking. So when you're playing and slaying, it is incredibly important to stay hydrated. So what is microphone side for a beverage tonight, Troy?
I went again, kind of just pulled the New Glarus Spotted Cow. This is the Wisconsin classic now, since it's is this the only beer made in Wisconsin anymore? I don't know. Besides craft beer, I would say it's kind of New Glarus is, and I guess they are craft beer too, but they're pretty widely distributed in Wisconsin.
That's right. Excellent. Well, I went with a beer that is not brewed here in Wisconsin, and it's got some pretty cool art. Picked this up when we were down this weekend visiting our friend Raf Cordero at Workforce Brewing. Cool little brew pub and brewery in Plainfield, Illinois. Could see the water tower from where the garage doors were open.
We lucked out. Beautiful weather too when we were down there. So.
Yeah. So we'll talk a little bit more about that, but this is Reverb. It's a hazy IPA. It doesn't have citrus in it by any means, but it has a really fresh kind of taste. It's not as bitter. I probably would know more if I understood the difference about a hazy IPA versus a standard IPA, but it's a little sweeter, and it has the mosaic hops, which kind of bring that out. But it's really good. I picked up a 4-pack of this along with a couple other beers to bring home when we were down there. So thanks, Raf, for the recommendations and the invite to come down and visit.
For more shows like this, check out the Goonhammer Media Network. More info at media.goonhammer.com.
All right, Troy, it's going to be rapid fire since it's just the two of us. As Bryce continues his paternity leave and Joshua attends to real life as a lead up to Adepticon. So we wish our co-host well, but we're going to continue pressing on talking about what we have been playing. So not a lot of game playing, but a little bit. So you want to start us off?
Sure. And we were, as we'll call back, you were talking about, we went down to visit Raph, and that was probably the latest game I've played. Is he brought along, besides one of his sons, he brought along a cool dice game called Strike. And basically it's, again, kind of a push your luck, gladiator. You could call it, if you really want to use your imagination, dice fighting in a gladiator arena.
Yeah,
to
dice
see who.
gladiatorial combat.
Yeah, but again, pretty simple mechanics. You're rolling to match one of the dice. It's 6-sided. I think you start with 5 dice, throw one in, and then you can continue to roll dice until you match one of the numbers that are in there, and then you get all the matches to come take out, and that's the end of your turn. And then if you run out of dice ever, you lose. And then there's some interesting things like if it's empty, if somebody cleans out the whole thing, you have to roll all your dice and hope that you get one around that. So again, fun. Like whatever.
Yeah.
10 minutes with what were there, 4 or 5 of us?
Yeah, dropping a dice in, deciding if you want to
Yeah.
pass. If any ones rolled had like X symbols
Oh,
on
that's
them,
right.
and they
Yeah,
actually get
there was a way.
removed.
Yeah, they would. So
Yeah.
your dice pool was also shrinking a little bit over time too. So yeah,
Dice
it was
casualties.
a fun, a perfect game to bring to sit at the bar at lunchtime while you're eating and hanging out and entertaining people from 50 plus to I don't know how old Raph's son is, but we'll say he was 8. How's that?
Yes. And it was some good food and some good beers and good sodas. I think he had an Ecto cooler.
Yep. I had
know,
some amazing. I just had a little bit because I was driving, but some spicy porter. So it was like
You had the
peppers.
Hellbear, right?
Yeah. So I think they have like a porter called, what was it? You were going to buy it and they were out. Sleepy Bear or something. And then they have a version, I think, of it. They take that and then they add in some peppers in there and give it a nice, like the hotness of the pepper with kind of that richness of the porter. Perfect. Like it was just amazing. So
yeah, and I had a chocolate and vanilla eclair stout that was very good. It wasn't overly sweet. It had just enough sweetness. Right. And then I had a German chocolate cake stout that was pretty rich and chewy, but 12.5% beers, and I was like,
and
whoa.
You stayed awake on the drive home. What the heck? You didn't. I thought you'd be snoring in the seat next to me there.
So. Great company. But yeah, so Strike. I hadn't seen that before. That was new to me. Yep. So it's rare that I'm like, oh, I've never even seen or heard of this. And the Raph's personal collection brought that out. And then you guys got together to do some Adepticon prep and education.
The weekend before, we got together at over at Josh's place and broke out one of the MCP scenarios that were Marvel Crisis Protocol scenarios that we're going to run at Adepticon, I think, as part of not as one of our major events, but as one of the welcome dinner stuff for that. And John and Eric joined us, and because those guys are trying to get some reps because they haven't played. None of us have played a ton, but they played even less. So it was just getting them familiar with the rules.
Yeah.
We played one of the Ultimate Encounter ones. I think it's Unstoppable Juggernaut and Unstoppable Colossus, because basically the story is he got Juggernaut's helmet and it's kind of driving him mad, and he kind of runs around and causes chaos and a thing. So you're trying to subdue him. So a nice fun scenario. We wrapped around it, and we did subdue him by the end around that. But it was cool too, because Josh has some really cool terrain and miniatures all painted up and everything else like that. So yeah, that was good. Again, continue to. That's exactly how I want to play that game, is in just kind of the beer and pretzels, throw superheroes around, punch people out. You have always some cool cinematic things happen, and that's
I don't know that I ever. Maybe I shouldn't say ever, but I don't know that I'm really that drawn to playing the actual like tactical head-to-head competitive play like version of it. I really like the multiplayer scenarios, or just kind of the hero rumbles like we tend to do. So maybe someday I'll try to actually like learn how to play a crisis or whatever they call them. But all right. Well, I've been doing some role-playing games. My own D&D campaign with you guys has hit some attendance issues and slowdown, so haven't played much of that. But I had started a campaign, the Dungeons of Drakenheim. The Dungeon Dudes YouTube had run a campaign. They released a book with, I think, Ghostfire, one of the third-party publishers, and I've been running that with Matt and Elena, our friends out in Seattle, and then my brother and his girlfriend Jenna, and it's Jenna's first time playing D&D. So it's kind of fun to see her learning a game that all of us have played together in some capacity. I mean, Tom and I and Matt and I have played D&D on and off for 30 some years together. So but she's fitting right in. She's playing like a dwarven sorceress who's a bit of a charlatan and a con artist. So having some fun approaches to encounters.
Yeah, that's cool. So I'll relate. For some reason, it's just weird now, right? At work, I literally yesterday answered that same question. How long have you been playing D&D? And I had to answer 44 years, which was a little scary. But the people who were asking it were kind of, it was like, it's just like, that's not, you can't imagine, I can't think of 5 years ago when, or maybe even 10, when would I really be having that conversation at work with, I was talking to, I will say, executives at our company, which was kind of funny. So, yeah.
Very cool. And then after several months of editing and writing and layout and everything, Paul and Jen wanted to get back to just playing a game for some fun. So we, Tom and Jen and I, Ben couldn't make it, but we got our mage group together and returned to Dark Milwaukee after, quite a long hiatus, and played, kind of reassessed where things were, brought some new storylines that we might be able to explore. And it's pretty fun to pick those characters up. It's like riding a bike. You may not play the character for a while. You might not participate in that world for a while, but it's right back into it with some really good role playing. And it's to the point where we don't do experience. We don't buy skills. We've kind of like become superhero level powerful characters. And it's more about just the storytelling and who the characters are at this point in time than any kind of continued growth and change. It's really fun to revisit that. And we might try to get another 1 or 2 in before we kind of shift gears and start doing some play development testing, I think is how you refer to it when you kind of start playing it to look for inspiration and build something new. So
cool.
Yeah, it was a good time. Hobby. It is the road to Adepticon. So all of us have done some level of painting, gluing, building, organizing. We got together. I like to think that I forced us to get together.
You were definitely the catalyst and an inspiration and a thorn in my side to be like in the best way. And because what I loved is you and people who we've talked about this before, I loved you were like, Troy, just give me a couple pieces. And because terrain, like if it just like you get upset when there's unpainted terrain in front of you, I think. And he's like, Troy, just give me a couple pieces and I'll do it. Yeah. It's like if you're watching on YouTube, he tied his flash of one of his recent MCP buildings that he just like, I got to do this, even though he probably had other things higher on his priority list, but terrain concerns. But yeah, Ty would he's like, give me a couple pieces and I'll do those. And then he's like, let me just do the elevators and do that. And then he's like, we could just get this all painted if we just maybe like do a day and we'll get a thing. And so I'm like, we found it. We're like, all right, here's a Saturday. We kind of threw it out. We were able to get John and Eric to join us. And and so thank you, Ty, because I think we did really, but we spent 8 hours and 8 hours started. It didn't seem like it though, because we started at like 3.
I think it was more like 7 probably of like
by the time we well, it's union. You guys, I had to give 15-minute
John
breaks.
Had to get his breaks.
He had to get a break in. Nobody was actually smoking, but for some reason, everybody when I had to go, I'm like, I gotta go outside and stand around for 15 minutes, and then, and then they'd come back in and pick up paintbrush. I don't know, there's something about. I had to get finger massages. I had to have somebody on the side doing finger massages.
We followed all OSHA protocols for cleanup and brush maintenance.
but we did, again, Ty, thank you, because it was good too, because you had done some, like I said, I was going to say test pieces, like some initial pieces. So we had like a recipe that you had kind of that sort of match that. And so you just kind of had here's our list. Like we're going to go through, we're going to do these steps with some, kind of simple, some dry brushes, washes. Again, you picked out, I think, some really cool, a little bit of colors that really helped, even though it was fairly simple recipe, really comes out and looks really cool. So hopefully if people kind of get to see the whole Space Hulk board, they'll all, that's all kind of, most of it was one day. And anything that doesn't have hazard stripes on it was probably done in the day that we were here for that. So that was a ton of hobby
halls and rooms. Yeah.
So yeah.
Which I got to be honest, it was a staggering amount of terrain. Like, I don't know that I really have thought about how many pieces the Space Hulk table has grown to be, of corners and hallways and
until
rooms
we had it stacked on another table. So right now where I'm sitting, it is completely set up yet, because I have to set it all up to tear it all down, which is always funny, and pack it up. But it's all over here, all 12 by 6 feet of it. But when you take that 12 by 6 and stack it on this table, which is where we were painting, we were 3.5 feet high.
We've got some funny pictures of terrain.
So maybe I can I'll drop a movie. You may be looking at some right now if you're watching this on YouTube. So
and I've been doing a lot of Adepticon prep. So in addition to the paint day, then the one thing we didn't get painted was all the doors. So all the doors on the Space Hulk table have they come out, they drop back in, and there's a little bit of like a insert that pops into the hallway. So Troy and I took a stack of those, and Troy took the rest, and kind of painted those up over a series of days. Just got to play with some weathering effects, got to play with some splashes of color here and there, and just really kind of make some dirty, grimy doors for the interior of the Hulk. So
they'll look good. So any ones you see that do have any kind of weathering effects or so forth were the ones Ty painted. If you get to a regular door that this looks like it's kind of like colored and washed and maybe some dry brush, those are the ones that Troy did. And I will say, in my defense, I think I did about 2.5 times more than Ty did, but that's that.
Yeah,
but it's good. You can't tell. It's all like there's highlights spotted throughout the
I had the 15 doors, and I was like, I'm gonna take the extra time and do the screens on the little panels on the side, and some grime in the corners. And I like doing terrain. It's easy. Like, you don't have to worry about staying in the lines. You don't have to worry about little tiny models that you can't see. You can just kind of, like, my hands and my eyesight don't allow me to be a great miniature painter, but I'm a pretty good terrain painter.
Oh yeah, so that's really good.
I have fun with that. And then I did flash the building for Josh for MCP. We'll see if I get the second one done, but he had 3D printed a building. So if you're on YouTube, I am showing the 360 view of the Java the Hut, a little coffee stand, coffee shop that I painted for MCP. So contrast, dry brush, playing around with some different colors and effects, and some pro acryl colors on top. And I told him I spent way too much time painting the white, and you probably couldn't see it on YouTube, but I kind of tried to make it like somebody had repainted the white a few times. So there's like some yellowed layers, and it gets brighter I wonder if you can see if I, like, I don't know.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
A little darker around the edges and a little cleaner. So kind of like the walls have been repainted multiple times.
Yep.
I don't know why I did that. I maybe have a bit insane, but painted that building, and then I've been working on my Trench Crusade stuff. The models aren't coming along as far as the bases, but since this is our hobby section, I played with some of the Green Stuff World UV resin, and I added a little bit of the Pro Acryl brown wash and kind of swirled it up to get some mud puddles, and then shine the light as I was watching the Badgers lose to Michigan in the Big Ten basketball championship game. Sitting there with my little UV flashlight, just shining it, as I finished. That stuff was super easy to use, really easy to apply. I hadn't ever really experimented with their transparent UV resin before. But the wash actually helped thin it a little bit, so I could almost pour it into some of the bigger puddles. But the bases are pretty close to done, and the guys are probably about 30%. So with 7 days of painting left, I'm 7 or 8 models are at about 30%. So
they'll be tabletop ready, and a few will be a lot better, I'm sure.
And then I've also been doing some sports card collecting. That's a hobby.
Yep.
And I've been doing a lot of it. I even went to a card show the first weekend of March. Salvation Army in Oak Creek, Wisconsin has a card show. There's about 100 tables, like vendors with tables, and I just walked around in there for a few hours, visiting with different people, kind of made some new friends, bought a few cards, just kind of really enjoyed the local scene. So that was a lot of fun. I did find out, Troy, and I have a confession to make. I may not be going to Gen Con July 30th through August 3rd, but a little bit closer to home, there is a sports card show that everyone calls the National. It is the National Sports Card Show, and this year it is in Rosemont, Illinois, at the Convention Center in Rosemont. Tickets available. I found some hotels a few miles away near O'Hare, so I think I'm going to go down for 2 days of it, maybe stay one night and go to the National Sports Card Show, just because I see all the videos and I hear about it. So I think that'd be a lot of fun to go check out for a couple days. So that's my new hobby. Josh says he didn't see it on his 2025 bingo card at all. I've shocked him with my new hobby, but I am in deep.
And you did, and only cards I bought were, as I think I showed you the other day on a hobby, was I did buy a box of whatever they call it, like the Aether Drift, the new Magic, the racing Magic set that you taunted me with on the last episode. And so I picked up whatever they call it, like the playing, not like a booster box, but one of their bundle boxes.
Fat packs or whatever.
Yeah, or something. Yeah.
The bundle. So, yeah.
At some point, post-Adepticon, I might play around a little bit with that just to do that. And I'm always Magic curious because I'd never kind of play competitively, but I love what they're doing with the sets. And I think I just saw that dragons get me all the time. The new dragon set that they just talked about. Again, it was like I dip my toe and pick up a few things, and I think I would, it's funny. I would probably always do both. I'll probably buy a couple cards because you get that, kind of dopamine hit there. And then if I really want to play, I'll probably just go play on MG Arena. Right. Because I'm not going to really ever build a real deck or something. But
yeah, I think the pre-con stuff is a decent time too. Like if you buy the commander decks and you want to play that format, or they have like the Jumpstart, where it's like some pre-made decks and you take two different parts. And
I like that. They leave enough, which is smart, right? Because they get people like me who's just like, I'm going to throw $50-$100 at it, have some fun, and give me some easy ways to play.
Yeah. Any other hobby? I know you've been kind of space.
Just a lot. Yeah. Again, I have some new control panels. I think I showed you guys the other. I don't think I took a picture and it was too late. I didn't post it. But I did get some paint on my new Space Hulk control panels that go into little rooms, the little elevator switches. That's the goal of that. So that's been my latest thing to paint. And I think otherwise that it's just I need to go. I'm going through and probably just touching up because even again, I haven't pulled out miniatures since we played last time, and so it's like, oh yeah, we had a couple of casualties of somebody falling off a base or something like that. So going through and going to do some first aid on kind of all the Space Hulk minis, and we got does packing a game, whatever we play. Marlon and Jonah were over here on Sunday, and we didn't really play, but we walked through we set up the Zombicide games and walked through that and those. And so just basically played with our toys without really playing the game, which was fun and good to visit with Marlon and Jonah too. So
Yeah, very cool. It'll be fun to see them at Adepticon
Yep.
hanging out.
Yep.
All right. What have you found for us on the crowdfunding front, Troy? It looks like you've got a couple of
yeah, I got a
Kickstarters
couple
here.
on these, and it's funny. I see them, and then I put them in our show notes, and then I'm like, what was this? Because it was like a couple weeks ago. The first one is from Creature Caster, and we like Creature Caster.
Yeah,
A group of
some great
guys do
sculpts.
crazy miniatures. What I believe what they're doing is some kind of a crowdfunded RPG kind of thing related to their miniatures, or some kind of compatible. So they're calling it like a D&D 5e compatible RPG called World of Reclamation, I believe. That then they're building some models around and things like that. I didn't dive too deep in it, but I was like, oh, that sounds like kind of D&D mixed with Creature Caster sounded like a good thing to go in. And so I think they're just kind of like, you can find it on like My Mini Factory. I think they're releasing some of the STLs on that. So if you have your own printer, you can buy STLs and do that. And then I think they're going to have some of this rules and story that's coming in, some different things there. So if that excites you, go and dig into that. Again, I saw that and I'm like, all right, that seems interesting. And then the next one's just all for you, Ty, although it's funny. Like, it seems like they're doing anybody's finding an IP and they're slapping in a role-playing game on it. It's not Thunder Road this time. It is Transforming Mars.
Yeah.
Or Terraforming Mars. Sorry, Terraforming Mars RPG that they're putting together here. So if you want a RPG, people trying to make Mars, and this is, I'm trying to think who. I think Kenneth Haidt actually has his hand in this a little bit. He's not the main designer, but I think he had some stuff in there. Hopefully I'm not misspeaking on that.
Yeah, Kenneth Haidt and Gareth Ryder, hand.
Yeah.
I've never thought there's an IP that didn't make sense as a role-playing game until I heard about this one. I can't fathom.
What, you don't think your players are going to come to the table and like, how is Mars going to kill us this week? Like,
I mean, the last time I played Terraforming Mars, I got to admit, I was launching nukes into the planet to try to create like cooling, I think, or I don't remember exactly what, but it was a harebrained scheme that didn't pay off. And if ever there was a moment where Terraforming Mars became too narrative, it was the last time I played, as I was just a despot going for destruction. So maybe you could find a way to do it. I'll have to look at this one a little closer, but I'm very pessimistic that this would be much fun. But
I don't
know.
I like the idea. Again, I like the idea, and I actually read through a little bit, and I'm just like, I don't know that I get people to really play this, like, because they do have it, like, I think different kind of levels. So they do have like project, like you could have like a session around, hey, we're doing this project, like you said, we need to cool some of that. But then I think they actually move it over through time, because again, right, in order for anything to really happen, you need to like move the story ahead and ahead. So
you don't have one single player character, but several over the course of generations. Individuals will live and die on the sand. Cities rise and fall. The world around you will be utterly transformed. I mean, that's We'll post a link. Check it out. I can almost guarantee I would not pay for this.
I did not back it. I was, and only because they really didn't have an interesting tier for me. If they would have had kind of a basic, maybe get my feet in tier that I thought was whatever, I might have just to kind of like grab the rules to look at, which I still may do after the fact. But
if I ever see a
but I didn't it kind of escalated, like the tiers escalated a little bit too quickly for me. Like, I'm like, I don't really need all this other stuff to get some of the things that I would be interested in. So
yeah, there's a digital Mars, so PDF only. It looks like it's 29 euros, so whatever that is in USD. for the
It's like
core
$50
core
or
book.
something, right? Something like that. So cool. Yeah, that was all my excitement for. Again, there's a million crowdfunding things, but two that caught my eye.
Yeah, I'm just I'm waiting for. I think there's a couple out there that I've likely backed that haven't shipped, and who knows what shipping will be like with the current state of
Yep.
Import taxes and tariffs for goods on Chinese container ships. We might never see some of this stuff. I think the board game industry is about to go
Yeah.
through some very interesting logistics problems and cost increases. But we'll see what happens. But I'm not holding out hope that I'll see any of my Kickstarters get fulfilled here in 2025. Let's go to the library. Let's talk what we've been reading, listening, viewing. I'll start. I've got a pretty long list. I've been doing a lot of reading. So I'm out of Audible credits until April 10th. I have the annual where I get my 12 credits all at once.
Oh,
and I burn through them. It's great for the first 6 months of the year, but then you get to a point where you've burned through them all and you don't have any for February and March. So then you have to go back through your library and find books that you had gotten once upon a time and kind of forgotten about and listen to finally. So I did that with V.E. Schwab. Darker Shade of Magic kind of is a story about multiple Londons, different universes they exist, and these magic users can travel between them, and one gets a artifact from one London and takes it to the other. It was interesting. I think it's part of a trilogy. I read the first one. I'm not sure if I will read the second or third one. I think it worked. It was self-contained enough that I was like, no, that's interesting. I think I liked Addie LaRue better. I've heard Vicious, her newest book, is very good, and I'll probably check that out before I would go and read more of this series. But it was enjoyable. Then at the library, I picked up Terry Pratchett's Monstrous Regiment. This one had come pretty highly recommended. I really struggled to get going. I had to renew it. It never took off for me. It was good. There were moments where I was like, "Oh, this is pretty cool," but I never really got engrossed in it. So tough one, and I was the same way with the book he co-wrote with Gaiman.
Good Omens.
Angels. Yeah, it took me a few stops and starts, and took me a while to get through it. I ended up enjoying it, but I was the pace just wasn't. I don't know. It was too
I love Good Omens, and I've always had the same problem with Pratchett. I feel bad because people are like, I love it and whatever, and I know I heard the same one. People when I ask her where's a good stuffing spot, this book gets recommended a lot. I can't remember similar ones. I know Ty, you and I. That's probably why we do trade books back and forth a lot, is we similar in our styles, because I've had a similar experience with Pratchett. But again, I feel bad because I know he's so many people love him and enjoy it and whatever. I just never found that book that really grabs me.
And I'd always heard that was a good entry in the Discworld, so I was kind of hoping that it would take off. I might try. I think there's one about the Night Watch or something like that, or another one that's been recommended where I'll likely try it in the future, but we'll see. Then my surprise hit of 2025 was a book that I picked up kind of on a whim. So I saw Steven Soderbergh's film Presence, which is about a family. Lucy Liu is one of the leads, a family in a house, and the story is told through some supernatural presence that is observing them. So all the camera shots are from the ghost perspective. The screenplay was written by David Koepp. David Koepp is he did the first two Jurassic Parks. He did Mission Impossible. He's directed films. He's been in Hollywood for years and years, has grossed billions of dollars. But when I looked him up after I saw he had written two books, one is called Cold Storage, about a biohazard team that kind of contains something. And then Aurora, he wrote in 2022, and Aurora is about when the power goes out. So a coronal mass ejection, a CME, happens, like the Carrington event in the 1850s, happens in modern day, that knocks power out across the world with like the solar flares and electrical storms. But it's not about the apocalypse, really. It's a story about people. And there's a brother who is, you get the sense he's in his 30s. He's kind of a tech billionaire on the West Coast who has prepared for a disaster. So he has like a bunker and a team he's paid to like come and support it if anything were to ever happen. And then his sister, who he is kind of estranged from, is like 40-year-old, divorced from kind of an abusive drug addict ex-husband whose teenage son still lives with her. So her stepson and her. And then it tells the story of how they each respond to this event. And her neighborhood is in Aurora, Illinois, and he is out on the West Coast and has a bunker in Nevada and an old missile silo. And it's kind of how their stories collide in this time following the power going out. And I had a moment where I read a name of a character, and it was a reference to like a professor of film studies at University of Wisconsin-Madison. And I was like, that's weird. So I looked, and because the name was exact, and I had classes with this guy. Well, it looks like David Kep did too, because he grew up in Pewaukee, Wisconsin, just down the road, and attended Madison for a couple of years before finishing his degree at UCLA. So it had to be a nod to David Bordwell, who recently passed away in the last year or two, but was just an incredible writer of film text and studies and an incredible professor at the university. And I read the name. I'm like, that can't be a coincidence. This is weird. And then I built the connection to where David Kep's from. And
that's pretty good.
Really enjoyed it. Read it super quick. It's only 300-ish pages, so it's a quick read. And already I'm like, when is the adaptation coming? Like, I want to see this movie now. I want to see him write this film. Man, I'm reading a lot of stuff, and then I'm listening to A Tide of Black Steel. It's kind of Anthony Ryan has written a number of fantasy books. This is a trilogy that's kind of new. I think the first 2 books are out. Kind of loosely based in Norse mythologies, but in a fantasy world. So it kind of goes down that like Fury of the Gods, John Gwynne, creating his world. Pacing's a little different. Story is pretty good. I'm enjoying the characters. Narrator's not my favorite, so I'm like, I wish it was a different narrator, but it is a good book. And then I think I talked about last time how Nicole and I have been giving each other a book to read each month. So I gave her for March Chain Gang All Stars, and she gave me a book called Monstrilio, which is I think it's translated from Spanish. The author, I'm going to look it up because it's out of my wheelhouse, and I never would have read it. And I read the first 20 pages, and I was like, "What did you get me into?" Here it is, Gerardo Samana Cordova. And so the description is: grieving mother Magos cuts out a piece of her deceased 11-year-old son Santiago's lung. Acting on fierce maternal instinct and dubious logic of an old folktale, she nurtures the lung until it gains sentience, growing into a carnivorous little monstrilio she keeps hidden within the walls of her family's Mexico City estate. So weird. Beautiful prose. Like it's really well written. But I don't know what I'm getting myself into. I guarantee I never would have picked up this book in 1,000 years if Nicole had not forced me into it as part of our marriage book club. We're calling it.
Well, and the show. I was looking for it now that I see that, because I was like, I wanted to hear about this book called March Marriage Book Club. I thought, I'm like, that's an interesting book.
Yeah.
Like I could see that. But I'm like, oh, I get it. It's I get it now. And then Monstrilio was the book that was.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I was all psyched up for this. I don't know what it was about, but there's this book about a marriage book club where couples get together and they do. Maybe I should sketch it out, write it out.
I mean, the intention, right, was to get both of us reading stuff that the other had enjoyed that we never would both read. And so far, it's 2 books I never would have read.
Yep.
I talked about The Silent Patient last time, Monstrilio this time. She read Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow and loved it, like heartbreaking emotion. We've talked about that before. Just was amazed by it. And then she's got Chain Gang All Stars, which is another one that I really enjoyed, but is kind of a gut punch in a different way.
Yeah.
So we're pulling no punches. She's giving me just weird stuff. I'm giving her like things that will be like damaging to read. So yeah, we'll have to pick one for April. Maybe 1 month I'll have you guys pick a book. I'll be like, all right, give me a recommendation.
That would be interesting. Yeah.
Cole read something.
All right. I've talked a little bit. I haven't been doing a ton of reading. But I did finish Double Eagle by Dan Abnett, my reread. 5 stars, completely loved it, every second of it. What was funny is, I don't think I talked about this, but what was funny is again, we talked about, it's basically the 40K version of the Battle of Britain in World War II. And it made me want to watch, as I was flipping through Netflix, Midway came up as the new Midway, which I had never seen, the one that came out, and I don't know what it was, right? 2010 somethings. And so I had to watch Midway because I had to see airplanes and sky battles and whatever else. And that wasn't a bad, actually, I didn't think that was a bad movie. That actually, I thought they did a decent, I hadn't seen it. That movie is, because one of my favorite movies, I don't know if ever, is Toro, which is the Battle of Midway.
Yeah.
That was, I think that movie was done in the 70s or something else like that.
Yeah, maybe earlier.
Yeah, but I used to love, Toro was one of my favorite movies back. It's fine. Yeah, learning American history through cinema, right? Which may or may not be 100% correct. All right. And then the only thing I've really been watching is I stumbled on the new Daredevil on Disney. Absolutely loving it. I think it's, I don't even know, it's halfway through. I think we're 3 episodes in. I don't know what the season's going to be. I assume it's going to be 6 to 8 or something like that.
Yeah.
Really, really, really good. Like, it is, you watch it and you're like, oh no, this is Disney, I guess, but it's hard R.
Yeah.
Really good. And I always forget his name, the guy who plays Kingpin. Man, he's got that character. Oh, he's got that character down. And in some ways, again, I think I don't know what it's called, Rebirth or whatever the subtitle is, but because again, if you follow, again, slight spoilers, right? But Kingpin kind of gets, you think, taken out, but like any superhero, really doesn't die. So he kind of comes back, but he's been through some stuff, and Daredevil's been through some stuff, and basically they're gonna collide in or they already are. But really interesting, and a lot of cool character stuff, but a lot of cool plot things around that. So, and I was never a huge, I've seen a little bit. I didn't think I've seen all the original Netflix series, which is really good on Daredevil. But really enjoying this one. So interesting to see where that goes.
Got to get that done before Last of Us season 2 starts.
I want to do a rewatch of that too, but talk about gut punch.
Yeah.
I have to be, it's hard to
yeah.
I need to get past Adepticon and then maybe sit through and
I feel like season 2 is gonna require therapy check-ins after each episode.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's take a brief minute or two to refill glasses, stand up and stretch, and come back, and we are going to talk about Adepticon. And we are back to talk Adepticon preview. So Adepticon, I'm wearing my Adepticon pin. from I don't know what year. I'll figure it out.
Oh.
But I saw it laying on my desk on a shelf, and I was like, I'm going to put that on. We're going to chat a little bit about what we'll be doing, kind of where and when throughout the con. Then we're going to get into, talking about some of the things we highly recommend you check out and take a look at. And then just some other kind of partnership charities and things like that that are of note for Adepticon and the raffle and the things they do. So first, I believe we are going to talk a little bit about our own kind of plans and what we'll be doing. Mine is very simple, so I'm going to start because you have a wall-to-wall schedule of fun. I, however, have limited. So I'm running Imperium Maledictum, the Inquisitor's Last Message, a custom scenario for tie-in to the Space Hulk story that has been told over the years, on Thursday and Friday from 2 o'clock until 5 o'clock. So that should be a good time. I had signed up for like an AOS Heroes at the Hinterlands event. I haven't canceled it yet, but I don't plan on actually doing that one. And Trench Crusade is going to be the only other thing. We'll have 2 tables set up kind of in the BoD room where the other events are going. Dr. Gabe has crafted a 3-part narrative campaign that will be kind of playing any one of our BoD friends that comes and wants to participate, doing kind of the 700 point starter warbands, not really adding models, but adding some skills, and then playing through 3 different scenarios. And what I will tell you is Dr. Gabe has provided this service with the assistance of Dr. Gabe GPT. Do not suggest you ask that chatbot for medical advice. But certainly, if you are interested in Trench Crusade, it might be worth asking Dr. Gabe GPT about Trench Crusade. And couple things I will add is there might be some questions you get about mortar attacks from a Trench Crusade board onto other boards and tables within the room. He may suggest, or others might say, hey, it's in the rules in our pack, but just preparing you for potential for scatter dice and mortar attacks coming from other tables in the room, Troy. It would be a shame if Hormigons got taken out by a Trench Crusade mortar.
More.
Yep. It's
crossing the streams.
It's impressive. And then there is no what you see is what you get, because we are following the rule of cool in the BoD Trench Crusade games. Just, don't be a dick, be cool. And that's about the only requirement, because WYSIWYG is not a real word. So wasn't recognized by Dr. Gabe GPT as a valid thing. So we're following the rule of cool, making things work. Going to be some fun with a lot of Trench Crusade going on those 2 boards. And that'll be all the time. Cool. We're not playing other stuff. But you have much more on your schedule.
Maybe. We are, again, we'll be in there Wednesday. We're going to help Terrace with some stuff. All our events, everything. Again, we mentioned that we will be located in the northern side of the Baird Center, I think room 108. If you make it all the way to that side on the far north end of the building, first floor, peek in. You want to see us, so come in, say hi, wander around. So Space Hulk running Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We'll get things kicked off sometime Thursday afternoon, and then just kind of keep running until Saturday night, sometime Saturday evening, and then I'll be all tired and done. But why? That's not all. That used to be it. But I have I have a lot of BoD friends that I recruited, and they were more than happy to help. And then maybe they're never going to say that again. I'll be like, Troy, let me know, how can we help? How can we help run things and whatever. And I'm like, all right, here's our opportunity. Guess what? We got Adepticon in Milwaukee, and we can just run all the games we want. Josh is going to be running MCP 2 cool scenarios on Thursday and Friday. The ones we've talked about and seen that we've done at we did that. We ran at the Midwinter to kind of give them the test run over there. So Thanos, the ultimate encounter with Thanos, which is a fun, really tough scenario, but fun in that way. And then the new Master Mold one that's really kind of Josh's custom baby that he's built. It's just cool. I mean, if you've seen, I think we've seen some pictures on that, but what he's built out there is pretty cool around that. So really fun run those, because we're going to be doing that. And then, as I mentioned, Marlon and his son Jonah are going to help us out with. We have again our Zombicide 3Ds that we've run at different conventions over the year. Also going to have those set up running Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So doing the Black Plague version of that on Thursday and Friday, kind of in the morning hours, kind of using the Hagglethorn Hollow Train, which again, I always like, it feels like it shouldn't be as much fun as it is, but there's something about the immersion and the slightly different, not the square board and the thing that really, we have a lot of fun with that every time we play it. And then on Saturday, we're going to run Zombicide Invader, the big 3D with there that it's again, one of the basic scenarios in there, but I think it's a lot of fun to do that. And again, not when you're not playing on the flat boards and the without the cardboard, it's the same game as you play in the box, but a lot different too. So yeah, I think it'll be fun. And again, I can't wait to kind of just see that atmosphere of, because there'll be times when we have 2 or 3 different games kind of going on in the room, and and it's all my favorite people are all going to be around. And like you said, Ty, kind of near and far, right? We have kind of all the people. I love how all our gang here that's been members of BoD over the years is all going to be there pitching in, and then a lot of our friends from out of town, they're going to hang out and play some stuff too. And we have a couple extra Space Hulk games going on too in the evenings that'll be a blast too. So
good deal.
And so then I don't know when. I know we're going to talk about other things to do at Adepticon. As you said, I might see some stuff on Wednesday, and I might see some stuff on Sunday before we pack out or something. And maybe a little bit when I'm running out for some lunch or something. But
we'll have to tag you out. We'll have to find a way to let you go.
The good news is I don't need to. I don't need to shop like that. Really, all it does is keep me out of the vendor hall, because anything else I can see because it's open all the time. But it's funny. I'm usually running games almost 100% of the time that the vendor hall is open, which isn't a terrible thing.
Yeah, I've been told there's a game that I should check out, Relic Blade.
Yep.
Raph told me about. So I'll be looking at that. I'll be seeing if there's anything new at Pro Acryl, my unsponsored but always present paint. I mean, I could reach 100 colors. I don't know that I need more, but just in case, I'll have to go see what they have.
Have they approached you about your color set yet? Or again, is it secret? Can we talk about your new wash?
Yeah, I mean, they haven't yet, but during our paint day, we ran out of the Vallejo model wash. So we took a bunch of available things and made our own that we have trademarked Dirty Paint Water. And it is a gray dark model wash, and it dirties things up just enough, knocks the shine down. You'll see it all over the Space Hulk terrain. Half of the Space Hulk terrain was actual model wash. The other half was like a dark gray primer, water.
Don't give away the recipe.
And other added. There were other additives, and the mix, the ratios. Was perfected in a few different mixing cups.
That's what's top secret. That's what's
we bottled what was left. I did use some more of it on the doors. I've been finding ways to use it. So
there we go.
Yep.
So
Dirty Paint Water.
Keep that in your pocket, and you just put it right out there on Monument Side. I like to talk to you about,
like, hey guys,
you guys like to produce this. Yeah. Ties,
Uh,
dirty paint water.
as far as other things in the vendor hall, I always do like seeing who's there and what they have. Like there will be some cool setups. There will be some new stuff. Um, I know model exclusives from different places. I think you mentioned like Creature Caster in the notes. They always have some really cool stuff there. I'm interested to see if Conquest has anything new at Parabellum, what they kind of have brought to the show. The Atomic Atomic Mass Games, the whole Shatterpoint Crisis Protocol. It's always fun to see their setup and what they have as far as demo games. So vendor hall should have a lot of really cool stuff and should be a pretty big space because they're using the new ballroom up on 3 or right.
Yep. So they should be. Well, they're not in the new ball. They're just in 3 in one of the big
3 in the original. Yeah,
original. Kind of where if you ever been again for local-ish people, if you ever been to the to the Milwaukee Convention Center, now the Baird Center, kind of the old anything that has any kind of big space on the 3rd floor. That room, I believe, is all. I think one of those is the vendor hall, and then I think the other one's kind of some of the big gaming stuff. So.
So painting competitions, let's talk about that.
Yeah, so I think there's throwing out here again, there's events, a million events all around, but if you're not in them, then you're not in them probably, and you already have that plan. But always good to we wanted to call out maybe some of the other things around Adepticon that if you're just focused on your event, you're missing out. Go and see some of these other things that have been over the years now are really kind of pillars of the convention. And one of the things I threw on here was there are a lot of painting conventions. Golden Demon is kind of the main one that everybody sees, but I want people to there are also some other ones going on, to make sure you kind of get a chance to take a peek at those.
Yeah, that the MCP one is always super cool. Like
I can't remember the name offhand, and I didn't get a chance before I put the notes in to look. They have a cool name for it, I thought, but you'll see it if you don't.
Bryce is going to be mad at
Bryce,
me.
I know, because you would know. Yeah,
something of the mighty.
There you go. See, at least you got one word of it.
It was kind of along the Thor. Yeah. Oh man, sorry, AMG. I'm gonna eat this one. But it was just really cool. They allow some displays. You start to see some people do some other stuff with their models and the backgrounds and the comic book style. You get some really neat stuff there. That is, I don't want to say less traditional, but Golden Demon, I think we're starting to see. You have to have some incredible freehand, some awesome dioramic basing. There's very technical thing you start to see out of Golden Demon. And I think some of these other ones, and what I missed a little bit about Crystal Brush and others, is you got away from the Games Workshop mandated rules and regulation around the painting competition, and the AMG one it's just a little bit different. You get to see some different model lines, some different stuff happening. So, and that's not a knock against Golden Demon or Games Workshop and how they choose to operate it. It is just, I think it's important to acknowledge art for art's sake.
Yeah.
There's put very clean box around what you consider art and how you recognize art.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's the difference, right? Like you said, Golden Demon is in some ways very much a painting competition, judging painting in a very way. A lot of these other ones are more creativity is rewarded and encouraged a little bit more than it's not just a straight up kind of painting technique competition. So
if you're interested in feedback from actual artists and painters, I think Ninjon has some commentary, Vince has some commentary, others have talked about the Golden Demon selection process, and I highly recommend you go look at their channels and their posts coming out of last year's Adepticon to form your own opinions, just where I'm coming from as a uneducated,
and we are not
not
Golden, not Slayer Sword winning. I did win Best Appearance once.
I won Hobby Hammer Award in
Oh,
2019.
there you go. See that. So that's who you're getting. Yeah, that's us two. That's what you're getting. Don't so take it with a big grain of salt. Yeah.
And then what else will be around? I'm excited to see kind of what the paint station area is for Fort
Mhm.
Wapple. I'm not sure where that'll be set up, but it's
It'll be on the exact opposite side of the world from us. So
Okay.
pretty much the south side, kind of near the entrance where if you're coming across from the Hyatt up there I think it's on that first floor, kind of in the hallway over there. So it should be it'll actually be a bigger area than they ever had at Schaumburg. But my understanding is, again, always check your maps. But if I remember right, that's where it is. It's kind of on the south side of the building down there on that first floor, kind of hallway outside the house there. It's kind of I think there's like some stairwell. It feels like, I think they wanted to get a similar feel, like kind of underneath a little bit of an area, but much more space than they had in the past. So I believe a lot of the hobby seminars are on that side of the world, will be like across the hall, and a lot of the smaller ballrooms that are kind of right there on that side. So
excellent. And then I think the other stuff, walk around the tournament halls. You're going to see some armies on display at all times, and like that's one of my favorite things to do is as paint judging is getting set up, over lunch breaks or end of the day, to go see display boards and go see some of the stuff. And then they always gather kind of the judge's choice for like the best displays for like the various team stuff. They've started to enter some of the Age of Sigmar along with the 40K. I think it would be really cool if they start to incorporate some of the other game systems too, but I don't know if
they are. Yeah, I think they are. We'll see how, again, this turns out, but they are really, we had a lot of talk about really trying to kind of double down on the Army Showcase, because it is one of the favorite things of that. So yeah, my understanding is they have trying to, I want to say, for a bunch of the different game systems and tournaments and things like that, kind of said, hey, pick your, here's slots. Like, I don't know if they even had like a fixed number, but say, if you see some things that you think are worthwhile to I think they gave them, here's a couple ways to say, yeah, if you can set that up on Saturday night, and kind of the Army Showcase out there. That's one of my favorite things, has been for decades.
Yeah,
that it's been going on, is to make sure on that Saturday night to go through and see some things, because that to me is, like we talked about, creativity. Like, you will not see a better display of why we do this thing, right? That's it maxed out, but in some ways, I think it's a little bit of what we all try to do, right? Of how to just use your creativity, make something really cool, and do that. So yeah, really, if you get a chance, if you're around on Saturday night, make sure you kind of check out the Army Showcase.
Absolutely. And then, do you want to share about the Adepticon partnership with the charities, or
I just want to call out again, there are a couple of really good charities. With Extra Play, I believe, is the official charity. They always I think they have one of the Chicago area children's hospitals and the Milwaukee Children's Hospital as the beneficiaries. They're usually targeted for that. Very near and dear to my heart. I think they're great there. Also, again, Table War Charities, which is the guys from Table War, that really helps autism advocacy. Again, if you've ever had to deal with the public school system and trying to get that, and if you have a child with autism, it just becomes very difficult. And they've done some really, really good things. So another great charity too there. And we're going to actually, as I talked about, one of the extra Space Hulk games we're doing a little something with the Carl and the IC guys, just to donate some money to both those causes as part of the game there. So we're going to have a couple little incentives to kind of on both sides to figure out how much money we'll donate to Table War for them.
Maybe that's how the mortar from the Trench Crusade gets engaged, Troy. Anytime you let me do that, it's like I had to put $20 in the Table War kitty.
There we go.
Yeah.
That's a good. Again, we'll do the post one, and we'll tell you how things came out too. But I want to thank Carl I just kind of had the idea, and I threw it out to him. And again, the guy that he is, he's like, "Oh yeah, sure, this sounds like a great idea." So
yeah, and I've heard you're taking the offer to go join the West Coast podcast this week. So
Might be, yeah. We'll see. See on the timing for here. That
is
this
that
should
a
come out
live?
whatever.
Is that a live stream? Do they
They
live
do
stream when
not.
they
Yeah, they
record?
do not live
No.
stream. But
So I can't be in the comments like
yeah,
generating charity donations by
yeah,
making Troy
yeah.
say different things.
Yeah.
That's too bad. I'll have to slip Carl some money and
Yeah.
see if I can get him to ask you some questions.
All right.
All right.
Again, that's whatever. That's our flyover. Again, it'll be $1 million. We will be back here.
Full postmortem.
Probably, yeah, full
in a couple
postmortem.
weeks.
Maybe, hopefully, yeah, a little less than a month. Hopefully, we'll in mid-early April, once we've recovered, if we recover, we'll tell you how it all went down.
100%. It's going to be fun. It's going to be great to be in Milwaukee. Excited for people to come and experience the city that we have enjoyed being a part of the larger gaming community for some time now. So hopefully everyone has safe travels here, and we'll be seeing you all at Adepticon in about a week. From the time you listen, it might even be on your drive or your trip to Adepticon. So,
and again, it'll be great. I'll just say, and including I have to tell myself this too. Everybody, just take a breath. This was the first year, new venue. Things may not be 100% smooth, but just know everybody's trying, and it'll all work out. Just take a deep breath, and we'll figure it out. So.
All right, we're going to bring the show close here. So obviously we are going to be at Adepticon. That is the next up event. And then, well, I am going to the National Sports Card in Rosemont, Illinois. Troy and Ben will be attending Gen Con end of July 31st through August 3rd in Indianapolis. There are a whole slew of other conventions going on over the summer. I think a future episode, Troy, I liked your ad of all the Wisconsin gaming conventions over the next 4 to 5 months. I think that would be a fun list to run through and share some details.
And how many we've been to at once. So a lot of these I've been to in one form or another over the years too. And we'll do that in the future. And thank you. We will also credit the Reddit where I stole it from. But again, that was a really cool list that I stumbled on there. And figured it'd be good for us to beef up our events list with. Yeah.
And some year we're going to get back to Origins like that. That's still a bucket list to go back and do that one. I think that's usually in June.
It comes up really fast in summer, and that's what's interesting. And it's always with kids in school. It's a little interesting it's like it almost feels too early in the summer to say, "Oh, I'm taking off for for a week."
Well, thank you all though for listening, viewing, liking, subscribing, sharing, commenting, all that stuff. Every little bit helps. We obviously are not monetized and don't really plan to be. We do this for fun and enjoyment, and hope you find fun and enjoyment. But the more people that we can get listening, the better off everything is. So it's more fun to have an audience than to just talk back and forth with Troy. So certainly participate, review, send us comments, suggestions, questions, info@basementofdeath.com. Visit the website basementofdeath.com or playinandslayin.com. You might be able to find a few of us on various socials. It has been fewer and farther between of late, but I think we've got an Instagram out there. I don't know if we ever use it. Most Twitter accounts are dead, but come find us in person. That's why we're going to Adepticon. So who needs social media? We'll be there on the convention floor in the thick of it. So any other final thoughts, notes, call outs, shout outs? Josh.
Oh, there we go. We'll call it. Yeah, we're missing Josh. We're missing you tonight. But again, super excited, a little bit stressed out, but we'll make it to Adepticon. Once we make it to Adepticon, then it's all downhill from there. It'll be awesome.
Absolutely. And while you're at Adepticon, hope you all keep the dice rolling. The drinks purchased at the Baird Center on ice. And no matter what, keep playing and slaying.